Welcome back to the Leading Yourself podcast, and welcome back to the last episode on our Reset Your Morning Routine challenge. If you have missed any episodes before this one, I really want to invite you to hit pause and listen to those before you get to this one. Today, we're covering how to overcome common challenges in crafting your ideal morning routine. At this point, you have already audited your routine, you have identified what matters most, you have crafted that ideal morning routine, and now we're going to cover something that is going to happen. It's the challenges that you might need to overcome in order to implement and build consistency around that ideal morning routine that you crafted yesterday.
Welcome to the Leading Yourself podcast. This is your host, Carolina de Arriba. I'm an HR professional, health and fitness coach, wife, mom, and above all things, a goal-getter. In this podcast, we're going to be digging into all things leadership, professional and career development, habits, and relationships. This is a podcast for those who want to become the best version of themselves. Those who have big dreams and are willing to embrace the journey and put in the work to achieve them. My goal is to share with you the tools, tips, and tricks to help you in your journey. So let's dig into today's episode.
Crafting your ideal morning routine is a powerful exercise, but it's not without its challenges. So let's talk about some common stumbling blocks and how to overcome them so you can stay on track with your newfound ritual. Challenge number one is time constraints. One of the most frequent challenges is time constraints. You might be thinking, I'd love to meditate, to exercise, and journal, but I barely have time to get dressed. Here's the solution: start small and prioritize. Identify the one or two activities that make the most significant impact to your well being and focus on those initially. As your routine becomes a habit, you can gradually expand it. A lot of times, overcoming the time constraints is about making the time for your morning routine. The time is not never going to be there. There's never going to be a perfect time for your morning routine. You need to make the time. And sometimes that looks like waking up a little bit earlier to fit your morning routine. I share with you, I wake up an hour and a half before everyone else wakes up in my house in order to fit my morning routine. Now, I'm not suggesting that you wake up an hour and a half earlier. In fact, start small. Start waking up 15 minutes earlier. That's how I started. I used to wake up at 7 a.m. at one point, and I started waking up at 6:45. And I would use those 15 minutes to invest in my morning routine. After a few weeks of that, I started waking up at 6:30 instead of 6:45. That made it so much easier than going from 7 to 6:30. Now I wake up at 5 a.m. and I spend from 5 to 7:30 a.m. on my morning routine. Again, it's something that you will build over time. The secret is to start small. Challenge number two is lack of motivation. Lack of motivation can also derail your morning routine. Some days it's just hard to show up with enthusiasm for those early morning activities. The remedy here is to connect with your morning why. Remind yourself why you've chosen this routine. How do you want to feel? What goals are you working towards? Revisit your intentions regularly and reignite your motivation. In one of my favorite books of all time, Atomic Habits, James Clear talks about the power of showing up. When motivation doesn't show up, you need to show up for yourself. Even if it's just waking up at the same time that you always do, putting your tennis shoes and doing half of the workout. The fact that you showed up will go long ways in building your consistency. Remember, it's not about perfection. And some days when you're not motivated, just showing up can reignite your motivation. Let me ask you this. How many times you didn't want to go to the gym, but then you made yourself go and you started, and the first 10 minutes were so painful, but after that, you spent an hour and it was just fine. The same happens with your morning routine. Practice the act of just showing up even when you're not motivated, when you're not enthusiastic about going to your morning routine. But very important, do not skip your morning routine. If you skip twice or three times your morning routine, it's going to be so much harder to get back to it. So always show up, even when you're not motivated, and always remind yourself of your why. Okay, challenge number 3, inflexible schedule. Another challenge that can get on your way. Maybe you have a job or commitments that vary day to day. In such cases, embrace adaptability. Create a core routine that can flex with your schedule. This might mean having a shorter routine on busy mornings and a more extended one on leisure days. Flexibility ensures your routine remains sustainable. Challenge number 4, falling back into old habits. Falling back into old habits is a common pitfall. You've crafted this beautiful morning routine, but somehow you find yourself reaching for your phone or skipping your intended activities. This is where accountability comes into play. Share a routine with a friend or a family member who can gently nudge you when you sleep. And you can also set daily reminders or use a habit tracker to stay on course. One critical piece in my own journey for my morning routine is my accountability community. When I started working out, and especially during the pandemic, we set up this Zoom call where we all sign in the morning, we say good morning, and then everyone does their workout. And knowing that there's other people there watching, quote unquote, because they really are not, it just adds a layer of accountability that pushed me to get into what I committed to. So, again, if you're falling back into old habits, lean into accountability. Find an accountability partner, someone that can do your morning routine with you, or an app that can help you stay accountable. Challenge number 5 is burnout. This is the last challenge we're going to address today. If your morning routine becomes too demanding, it can leave you feeling drained rather than energized. To avoid this, practice self compassion. Your routine should nurture you, not exhaust you. If you notice that it's becoming overwhelming, it's okay to scale back. Remember, it's about progress and not perfection. I've been in this spot multiple times. Actually, just recently, I had to scale down on my routine. That can look in different ways. For example, with my workouts, instead of doing like heavy lifting workouts, I slip back and I reduce the time of my weightlifting, and then I just go for a walk. Sometimes I've been running instead or jogging, but right now I'm walking. I have to scale down. Maybe scaling down is about how much time you invest in your morning routine. If you're investing an hour and you're in a busy season and you're feeling overwhelmed and your morning routine is making you feel even more tired, maybe you need to cut it by half. Continue to show up, but scale down. Remember, practice self compassion. It's about progress and not perfection. As you navigate these common challenges, remember that they're part of your journey. Challenges provide you an opportunity for growth and for refinement. Embrace them as learning experiences and don't be too hard on yourself when you face setbacks. Because it's not about if they will show up, it's about when they show up. Creating and maintaining your ideal morning routine is a beautiful act of self care. It's an investment in your well being, and it's a daily reminder that you are worth it. I encourage you to continue this journey with an open heart and a resilient spirit. I want to encourage you to continue to refine your morning routine and to leverage the fact that we're entering a new season in the year to take the time to go through this process with me of resetting your morning routine to set yourself for an energizing, productive, and inspiring day ahead. Thank you for joining me in this journey of crafting your morning routine. I hope that you have enjoyed this mini challenge. I hope that you have been following along and reflecting on your own morning routine, and that by now you have a plan going forward on how your routine is going to look like so it can serve you. With that, I hope that you have an amazing day. I hope that you are now ready to lean into your morning routine to set the tone for your days to come. And I can't wait to talk to you again here on the Leading Yourself podcast. One last thing before you leave. If you found this challenge helpful, do me a favor and share it with a friend, a family member, a colleague at work that you think can benefit from also resetting your morning routines with us. With that, have an amazing day, and I'll see you here again for another episode of the Leading Yourself podcast.